Hi guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at a Ganzo knife, or three. That's all one basic model, the G729. I thought I did a review of this thing 6 months ago. And if memory serves, I'm sure I recorded it, but for some reason I can't find it in my files, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I never did record a review of the G729. I even had one of these with the milled out liners. Looks like a wormwood, kind of like a worm's been in the wood running in those kind of holes, trenches. Really, really cool. I sold this guy in my Ganzo sale to one of my viewers from Quebec. And he reminded me that there's no review for this knife out. So before I ship it to him, today's Monday, it's a statutory holiday, family day in Alberta. So I can't ship it till tomorrow anyway. So I'm doing the recording of this review today. I'm not sure when I'm going to post it, but I'm recording this on Family Day in February. And my friend from Quebec, I'm not sure if you want me to use your name or not, so I'm not going to say. Thank you for reminding me, and thank you for letting me put your knife on this video. Very recently, I found out that the 729 became part of the F series. So they've updated it for their modern line. So they're continuing to produce this. It's the F729 now by Firebird, made by Ganzo. And I got the carbon fiber on G10, the carbon fiber laminate on G10 version. Otherwise, it's the exact same knife. So if you're interested at all in this knife, stick around. We're going to do a nice review on this. As I was setting up for the tabletop shot, I remembered I had an orange one of these and a green one as well because I like the style so much. And since I thought I had done the review already, I've already given those away. So I've just got these three for the review. Well, here we go. I can do the review with three knives, no problem. Take a look at the knife. Every single one of these is the same thing. They are all the same shape, the same size, same dimensions. The only difference in any of these is the handle scales. They're all satin finish on the blade. I don't think they made a stonewash version of this knife, and I'm convinced there's no coated blade version of this knife. And so they're all G10, and then we've got G10 with a carbon fiber laminate on top. And, this nice big belly on the blade, and about a third of it is a nice little flat area. All of these are 440C steel. Sometimes I forget to say that about Ganzos. I sort of feel like everybody knows that already, but who knows? There might be somebody who's never seen a review on a Ganzo before. Somebody who just isn't really into knives, but somehow they stumbled upon this video. So I should always say all the details, and especially the really good details. 440C steel is a budget steel for knives. I think it is at the top end of the budget line. It's bumping into a mid-grade kind of steel, especially the way Ganzo heat treats it. They've perfected it. I think the best 440C steel is the way Ganzo makes it. Other people make it just as well, but I don't think anybody makes it better than this 440C. Nice hunk of steel. Let's talk about the specs before we get into what I like about the knife and what I don't like about the knife. The cutting edge. And when I say cutting edge, I'm talking, where's my pen? There we go. Cutting edge is from the end of the sharpener's choil, and each one of them's got a nice little sharpener's choil, which is a big positive. I like that a lot. So from the sharpener's choil to the tip, I'm measuring diagonally across, a straight line across there. 3 1/8 plus a tiny bit inches is most of these. That's right around 8 centimeters. And I'm starting to remember sometimes to measure how thick the steel is just behind the grind. Some people want to know that. It is 0.032 inches or 0.83 millimeters. So that means it's a pretty heavy-duty thickness behind that cutting, just behind the cutting edge. robust, strong, and yet having a full flat grind on the blade, it still slices very, very well, not only because of the full flat grind, but because of the big belly and because there's no thumb stud for what you're slicing to bump into. So it's easy to slice through stuff. And then we've got the handles. How big are the handles? Well, they're 4 3/4 inches long, which is 12 centimeters. So when you open the knife up from tip of the blade to the furthest point on the handle, we're talking 8 1/4 inches, which is 21 centimeters. The weight of these knives, the newest one, the F series, is a little bit lighter, and that's because they've skeletonized it. Let's see if I can get the angle just right with the light. There you go. You can see that there's holes. There's round holes in the liner here. The F series is 4.1 ounces, which is 117 grams. And these two are 4.4 ounces, which is 126 grams. So it's not losing an awful lot. It's basically 9 grams that they lost by putting in those 6 holes. A 3+ inch blade at 4.4 ounces and 4.1 ounces, for me, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a really good weight. I could carry that all day long, no problem, no questions asked. And I do carry a knife this weight or heavier. I carry a 6-ounce knife, no problem, all day long. Now let's talk about what is this knife like. Well, we've got an axis lock. One thing I really, really like about this blade design, this knife design, is this forward choil. Normally when you're holding the knife, your index finger is right there, and you close your hand over it, and your 4 fingers fit in there. I've got a large size hand, a little bit closer to medium than it is to extra large, but when you're using the knife, sometimes it's advantageous to get your index finger up here, and then you get your thumb in there, and your index finger up there, and now your finger is right close to the cutting edge, and it gives you very good dexterity, a whole lot of extra control to cut fine things, and it ends up the handle sticking out a little bit further this way, but you've got lots and lots of control. So when you need a little more reach, you're back this way, or under normal holding, you're back this way, and then you can sneak up. I call this a half and half choil. I know it's technically not half. It's like 2/3 and 1/3. But so half of the choil is on the blade tang and half of the choil is on the handle. I really, really like that an awful lot. It's very, very comfortable. They've done a great job with rounding off the G10. There's no hot spots with that at all, and it works really, really well. I already mentioned the sharpness choil. The sharpness choil is really good because when you go to sharpen the knife, you won't be getting near the edge. I'll use another blade to point to it. When you're sharpening, you won't get near this spot right here to scratch it all up, because your sharpening will just go up to here and stop. If there was no sharpness choil, this termination point will tend to get all scratched up and start to look ugly very quickly when you're sharpening. So a sharpness choil is called that because it helps the sharpening to look better. It's purely aesthetic. Functionally, if a sharpness choil is too big, it can become a problem because what you're cutting can get caught up in there. So I like to use my thumb to deploy the blade. I use my thumb much more frequently than I ever would play like this to make the blade open. Come on, flick. This method of pulling back the axis lock and swinging the knife open, that's just for playing, for goofing off. In actual use, when I want to actually use the knife, I just flick it out with my thumb. Don't have to touch the lock at all to open the knife. Just flick it open, it locks up, and it's good to go, ready to use. My hand's in the right spot. I don't have to move it back. Okay, let's talk about the handle materials. G10. And we've got a couple of different textures here as well. This is a very common texture of the G10. It's just a very fine kind of checkered pattern on the surface of the plastic itself. Well, I'll just call it plastic. It's G10. There's actually glass fibers and everything in there. It's a really, really cool material. Very strong. Okay, so that's that. If you take a look at this handle, just look at the surface pattern of that checker right there, for instance. It's a much coarser kind of pattern on the surface of that G10. That's very common on older Ganzo knives. Between that bigger checker and these little wormhole trenches, this has a very good grip. This is the grippiest Ganzo out there, at least the G10 finish. Very grippy in hand, very solid, very hard to drop this knife accidentally. G10 stays grippy even when it's wet, and so it's a really good material for that. And then with this extra pattern, it just goes above and beyond. This knife is G10, and then you've got a layer of carbon fiber on top. And so this is very smooth on top. But just the shape of the choils and this little bit swell here and everything, and the little bit of jimping up here on this thumb riser, that's all what gives you the assurance that you've got a good grip on this. And it's a nice shape, and it's made really well, and it does grip really well. I really like these G10, the carbon fiber on G10. It looks really nice, and hopefully one day soon, Ganzo will make a solid carbon fiber handle scales. So that's the handles. Let's talk about the pocket clip. This is the classic Ganzo pocket clip. You see this pocket clip on more knives than any other style of pocket clip, although they do have like 8 or 9 different pocket clips that they use on different knives. This one's the most common. It's the spoon end here. Everything's nice and rounded. Everything feels comfortable. There's no hot spots in your hand when you're grabbing it. It's always in the tip-up orientation. You have like a little, roughly ½ an inch, 1.5 centimeters of knife sticking out of your pocket, because your pocket can't go right all the way up to the end. Let's pretend this is your pocket material. Of course, your pocket material is going to go down further, but this is the front edge of your pocket. That much of your knife will stick out of your pocket. And, that's not too much, but you'll also see the pocket clip here. You've got a big lanyard hole on all of these, very, very generous lanyard hole. So Ganzo, thank you for making the G729. Thank you for starting to skeletonize it and making the F729. I like it so much, I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to keep the camo one, and my friend from Quebec is getting this black one. I don't have any real negatives on this knife. It's just a great budget knife. It's just beautiful and wonderful, and I just noticed something right there in the cutouts. That really looks like the shape of a heart. I think it is. I'll point to it with this. Right there. That little hole right there looks like it's the shape of a heart. I never saw that before. That's kind of cool. So what's the negatives about this knife? Not much. The pocket clip isn't a negative really. It's just I would prefer something even nicer. Everything else I totally enjoy about the knife. And the things that I really like extra special are this forward choil. And, it's a good, solid knife. If you're looking for a knife like this, you can go into the description below the video, click where it says show more, and you'll see the my description that I've typed out. I've got links in there for where you can buy these and get your hands on them. Fun knife to use, and very usable knife in a lot of different ways. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please click on like. Please share with your friends or share with somebody who's interested in knives like this. In the comment section, I'd like to discuss any of your comments, any of your ideas. Thank you so much for that. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.